A number of men in the British Army, particularly those who had undergone commando training, had become disillusioned with the lack of training and role in battles against the Italian and German forces that opposed them in North Africa during the first half of 1941. They had become bored of the strict routine of the army. What they wanted was action and freedom to hit the enemy hard behind the lines and disappear to fight another day. Today I shall be talking about one of these men, a man who was instrumental in establishing his unit's ethos and high standards of training and discipline. That unit was the famed Special Air Service, or SAS, and that man is John Jock Lewes. Jock Lewes was born in Calcutta to an English father and Australian mother. Lewes was raised in Australia when the family moved there. While living in Australia, he enjoyed a rugged outdoor lifestyle. He played a wide range of sports and excelled in rowing. In 1933, Lewes came to England to study at Oxford University. Here, he continued to excel in his sporting endeavours, which earned him the nickname Jock. His skill in rowing led to his election as the president of the Oxford University Boat Club. While he was at university, Lewes spent some of his holidays in Germany, and for a short time he was impressed by the Nazi regime. Its dynamic and disciplined image appealed to his disciplined character. This changed, however, especially in 1938, when the German state ramped up its treatment of violence against the Jews, particularly during Kristallnacht. This revealed to Lewes the true and violent nature of the Nazis, and when the Second World War broke out, Lewes enlisted in the Welsh Guards. Eager for action, he quickly underwent commando training, and joined the commandos when they deployed to the Middle East to take on the Italians. Like his commando comrade and future SAS co-founder David Stirling, Lewes found his time in the commandos incredibly frustrating. Many commando operations were cancelled, and those that went ahead often ended in failure. Learning from this, though, Lewes began to refine commando concepts, and he developed a more effective way of using these highly trained soldiers. Lewes began steps to set up his own small parachute raiding unit. Having acquired some parachutes, he arranged with a few comrades, including David Stirling, to make jumps in the Middle East with very little instruction or actual parachute training. Despite some early promise, Lewes encountered further frustration when his plans to use this new unit were repeatedly cancelled by those further up the chain of command. Instead, he was posted to the besieged port of Tobruk in Libya. Here, he experienced intense combat, and he honed his military and leadership skills, especially in small party raiding and desert endurance. While at Tobruk, Lewes was repeatedly approached by David Stirling, who was keen to recruit him into L Detachment Special Air Service Brigade. Stirling had established this new unit based on ideas the two men had discussed, and with the help of some connections at GHQ. Lewes was eventually won over and became the unit's training officer. He jumped at this and threw himself into the task, training the men in navigation, medical skills, observation, demolitions, all key skills for future SAS operations. Some of Lewes's methods were pretty experimental. They included practicing parachute jumps by leaping from the back of speeding lorries, as the SAS couldn't secure any planes. Lewes contributed more to the SAS than just training. He was pivotal in the development of a bomb that would be incredibly useful in future SAS missions. Through many trials, he created a weapon which succeeded in combining both high explosive and incendiary elements. The new bomb, named after its inventor, the Lewes bomb, was ideal for the destruction of aircraft and vehicles. Lewes then took part in the first SAS operation, which ultimately ended in disaster for the unit. The mission involved a parachute drop behind enemy lines in the deserts of Libya, where the men would then march on to attack enemy airfields. Sadly for the SAS, they dropped into an incredibly hazardous area, mainly due to a sandstorm and terrible winds. The SAS dropped 50 men into the storm, and only 22 made it out of the desert alive, with not a single enemy plane destroyed. Despite the horrific first mission, the SAS planned a second mission, which achieved much more success, and Lewes once again played his part. The SAS wreaked havoc behind the lines, destroying a number of enemy vehicles and killing a number of Germans and Italians. A key difference with this mission was that the SAS developed their partnership with another British Special Force, the Long Range Desert Group, or the LRDG, who used their vehicles to deliver the SAS to their targets. This negated many hazards of parachuting into the desert. Lewes's service with the SAS, however, was ultimately short, as on the 30th of December 1941, after returning from a mission at an enemy airbase, he was killed when his aircraft was strafed by enemy aircraft. Following his death, he was buried at the site by his comrades. However, the exact location of his grave remains unknown, and as a result, he is commemorated on the Alamein Memorial in Egypt. Sergeant Jim Almonds, who was with Lewes when he died, wrote in his diary, "I thought Jock was one of the bravest men I'd ever met. true officer and a gentleman. David Stirling also wrote in later life that Jock could far more genuinely claim to be the founder of the SAS than I. Who knows how his SAS service would have gone had he survived longer, but despite his short time in the unit, Lewes was instrumental in shaping the famous unit's early months, setting it up to become the famed unit it is today. Thank you all for watching, and if you enjoyed, don't forget to hit like and subscribe and drop me a comment as well. See you all on the next one.